Good morning, everybody. It's Friday morning. I'm going to start on my last day of the week. The week in itself has not been as good as last week. Some of that due to my naivety, and some of it being just bad luck and maybe bad bidding, I suppose. But, I will make my target this week. I've got a job booked in this morning. I've not had any ADR work, but the reason for this brief video was simply to cover something else on ADR. Because when I put the last video out about being careful what you carry, someone asked me a question about gas, that they'd been sent to a job, and when they turned up there was 2 large gas bottles for them to move, and they were asking me, should that be under ADR? So I'm going to give you a little brief synopsis, or whatever the word would be, about the gas. You, as a person, as an individual, you can carry gas if it's for non-business use. So if you're not doing it for hire and reward, so if you've got a barbecue or something, you go and get your gas bottle from your local hardware place or whatever, you can carry that. And if you use gas as part of your job, so for example, you might be a plumber and you're going to be welding pipes and things like that, you can carry gas. Because it's usually just one cylinder and usually in a fairly small amount, you're allowed to carry those things. You legally have to secure it. It has to be secured in the vehicle, so it cannot move or roll about, because obviously it's got the potential, if the cylinder's struck, it can explode and can become really dangerous. But if you're carrying it for hire and reward, which what we do, because we obviously transport goods for hire and reward, then you do have to either be ADR trained or ADR aware. Sometimes people call it ADR light. And that's all due to the quantities of the gas you carry. And there's 3 types of gases. You've got the flammable gases, and they're usually identified with a red marker. You've got your non-flammable gases, they're usually a green marker, but again, these things can still explode. And you've got your toxic gases, which obviously the most dangerous, and they're usually a white marker, usually a white square on them, and usually a skull and crossbones in the middle. All of these gases come under ADR rules. Now, depending on the amount that you're carrying in litres, because that's how it's usually identified, then you may not have to show the orange symbols on your vehicle when you're transporting them and actually have an ADR license. However, you still have to be what is called ADR aware, and your vehicle has to be equipped with all the ADR equipment when you transport the vehicle, when you use it to transport the goods. So for example, you have to have an ADR kit, you have to have all the safety equipment, you have to have the wheel chocks, the fire extinguishers and everything like that, even if it's a limited quantity. To give you an example, flammable gas, you can carry up to 333 litres of flammable gas and not have an ADR license. However, you still have to be ADR aware. And you'll probably notice on the back of, say, a plumber's van or something like that, he'll have a little symbol on the back saying flammable gas, or he'll have a symbol saying, non-toxic gas. You still have to display a symbol on the back of the vehicle showing that you're carrying these things. The exception is if it's a private vehicle and it's private use, you don't have to display a symbol because it's for private use. So if you turn up somewhere and you're not an ADR driver and you turn up and it's bottles of gas, unless you've got the equipment, don't take it. And if you do take it and you're stopped and it's not secured in the vehicle, you're fined quite heavily. So the answer to bottled gas is, if I were you, and you turn up and you've not had any ADR training, you're not ADR qualified, don't take it. That should have been identified at the start when you get it, because you're putting yourself at risk of a big fine, possibly losing your license. So I hope that answers the question about gases. All of this information you can pick up online. You can get that information about it. And I've realised that obviously sometimes the shippers put these jobs out and they're not entirely sure what you're carrying. And when you get there, it's the customer who's put it off. And that, it may be the case that they're not sure, but that isn't a defence for the police, I'm afraid. So be aware, gas bottles, more than likely, you need to be ADR trained. And if you're not, and you go under ADR light, your vehicle still needs to be equipped to carry it anyway, and you have to have all that safety equipment that's listed under ADR regulations. And all of this can be looked up online. So I hope it answers the questions that I got. But the fact of the matter is, there are still jobs that are going out there, judging by the response that I got, that are not being identified. And I suspect it's simply to get the job done a bit cheaper, which is naughty, to say the least. So I hope that answers the questions. It's just a brief little video, and I hope everybody's doing well. And I hope I have a better week next week. I made me money, but by God, it's been hard work getting that money this week. But some of that has been my own fault, because I'll tell you something. If a shipper rings you up and asks you to do a job, do it. I was offered a job, and I refused the job thinking I could get something better. And of course, I didn't. And then that makes me look quite bad with the shipper, I think. And made me earn less money than I really wanted to do that day. So a lesson has been learned by me. If someone rings you up, they obviously think you do quite a good job, and they've offered you a job. Take the job, because you'll generally get a better rate than if you're having to bid for it anyway, aren't you? Because if they offer you, say, £100 to do a job, and you can't do that job or won't do that job, it goes out for bidding, and then everyone starts bidding on it, and then they'll probably get it done for £80. They're giving it you because they think you can get it done. And so generally the price that they offer you will probably be a fair price. But I'm new, I'm learning, and maybe I was thinking the grass would be greener, and it wasn't. So as a consequence of that, this week, I'll make my money, but it has been really tough making it. It could have been a little bit easier. You take care, everybody.